Well, boys and girls, this is only going to be about an hour hangout, give or take. This is going to be a little pre-show so we can discuss the upcoming event of G-Man and. Well, boys and girls, this is only going to be about an hour hangout. Did it again. This is going to be. Got to stop doing that. So the upcoming debate with Christian Anarchist and G-Man on the topic: can Christians accept evolution or evolutionary theory or something about evolution? Anyways, I'm going to be watching it, so I am not running this hangout concurrently with theirs, which is going to be approximately an hour and 14 minutes, I believe. So if anybody wants to come in here and place your bets, I'm giving, obviously, my spread of 20-1 payout on Christian Anarchist, that he's going to have a better, more effective case than G-Man, better evidence, better reasoning, and better argumentation. What say you guys? You guys say nothing. Okay, great. Like I said, if you guys want to just talk in the side chat, come in here, and either or, but this is open to anybody who wants to come in and talk about the pregame show. I don't think that they're going to get too much into actual biology. Oh, speak of one of the devils, and he appears. So I'm just doing a pregame psych up for your debate there, CA. So we can get everybody enthused and ready to go. And did you sound like tired already?
No, I'm fine, man. I'm fantastic. I'm actually looking at one of the materials that I read from to prepare for the debate, which was this may be me doing a little advertisement whoring out, but
That's
7
what it's
days.
For.
Huh?
That's what it's for. Whore away. Go ahead.
Yeah, 7 Days That Divide the World by John C. Lennox. Very good book, very short and simple enough to read, with good enough information concerning the topic of how to approach the book of Genesis. So I would recommend that for anybody.
Now, as I understand it, you guys are not going to be really getting into too much biology at all. It's going to be strictly scriptural references, right, mostly?
Yeah, he's... I think from one thing he might head to the biology part. I'm not too sure yet, but for me, definitely the only time I'll really mention it is if I'm doing a comparison, and that is saying that I do not believe in the Darwinian process, or that by means of any form, by some sort of natural selection. I'm what some people would say the supernatural selection. In other words, I believe what we see as natural is destined to happen, and that it was all God the entire time, that each change from this process was him in the process.
Well, that follows because you're more of a Calvinist, and that's going to be more deterministic, right? I mean, that's your outlook, correct?
Right. For these sorts of features, they are, yes, predetermined.
Yes. How long is going to be the debate? You said the after show is going to be on Vincent's channel, and so how long is the debate out? What's the format going to be like?
Well, the format we're looking at is we got a 10-minute opening statement, I think, and then we'll be going into what is it? 5-minute rebuttals for each round, and then we will head into great. I forget what I was trying. I was trying to thought, but yeah, then we got.
I don't even know what you're doing. I'm changing my vote. I'm going with you now.
Yeah, we got a 7-minute cross-examination. I can't even remember words these days. Cross-examination round between me and G-Man. We only have one of each on those, and then we go closing statements, and then a 15 to 20-minute Q&A.
Well, that sounds entertaining. Mark Thomas is like Stephen, it's unbiased opinion. Oh, no, this is a biased opinion, Mark. There's a distinction between a biased opinion and an unbiased opinion. When it comes to two people that I've known for a while, and I can tell who's better at this stuff, it's going to be based upon those observations. So I have a biased opinion that Christian Anarchist is going to do far more superior than G-Man. However, that doesn't mean G-Man is going to do horribly. I don't know about that. I mean, he may surprise us. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
But G-Man is not a determinist, correct?
No, I don't think he would necessarily consider himself a determinist. I think that he might agree with some things I point out, but we know he has some disagreements with things concerning like the Reformed soteriology position. So we may look at predestination and all that differently. And I think the role of how we handle like the problem of evil, for example, is going to be coming into a factor as well. So this will one thing that he's definitely mentioned to me before is that the idea of death before the fall would be one of my so-called problems concerning the debate.
Well, yeah, the problem evil would apply in this debate because both you guys are you guys both advocate a good God, so that would apply to you both of you equally, obviously. As far as the death before the fall, as I'm understanding G's position, he doesn't believe that there was death before the fall. He's kind of sides with young earthers on that. Is that correct?
Well, here's the thing. Even if I was a young earther, I mean, I'm looking at the text. I don't see anywhere it's saying that there was no death. There's no indication that everything was just no death was on the face of the planet. It doesn't.
And we're talking physically. We're talking physically here.
Yeah, we're talking the biological.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of see it the same way. Obviously, there's been a recent push now. I don't know if you've seen it. Let me get Matt the link here one sec. There's been a push to even try to explain away how people ate plants because they were all supposedly herbivores back then, and that plants aren't alive now according to IRC because they have to get around that, right? If they say that there's no death before the fall, then plants can't be alive because then we would all starve to death. I mean, we can't eat meat according to them, even though we're biologically omnivores. We can't get away from that fact, and yet there are many animals actually that are strictly carnivores, and yet the young earthers believe that some of them were just plant eaters. And like Nephilim actually one time said something along the effect that snakes have hollow fangs so they can basically put these enzymatic things into an apple and then suck the juices out. Yeah, this is the extent that they've gone to try to rationalize that whole death before the fall thing, or no death before the fall.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a way we're spending our Saturday. Hopefully, it will go better than the last event, which was I moderated, and that was with Rihanna and Wyatt. Consensus was generally across the board Wyatt didn't do very well. Matter of fact, I had people who messaged me throw in the towel, call it a day now because Wyatt's done, but he wanted to have it. So, hey, Matt, welcome. Do you want to place your bets, Matt? Matt, I don't want to take your money.
I have a standard bet, so it's fixed with the bookies that G-Man will lose every debate.
It doesn't matter what the debate is.
Yeah.
It's just, whatever it is, he'll lose.
Vanilla ice cream or chocolate, he loses.
I just don't think he's much of a debater, is he?
He asked me, he messaged me on Skype to ask me about the Hitler question and whether it could be, he had this whole discussion with me, annoying me on Skype about could it be rational to say Hitler was a Christian? And I was giving him some explanation of my view on that, and then I was getting tired of it. He tried to call me when I told him I was busy and things like that. So then I said, okay, I'll tell you what, have a hangout and invite me to the hangout to help him, to try and be of assistance. I joined the hangout. He did nothing but attack me, and then he booted me from the hangout, but I was there to help him.
Well, as far as I understand it, I mean, Hitler was in a Christian group when he was a child, and he probably did have some Christian. I mean, he was Roman Catholic, but later on, was he an activist Christian? I don't think so. But I mean, he definitely had a lot of Christian overtones. I mean, like I said, he was raised along Christian lines, and he had mottos that were very theologically oriented.
Yeah.
So
the thing with Adolf Hitler is that he was, and I'm possibly going to be trying to do an article about this from our website soon, is that with Adolf Hitler, what we are looking at is one of the main key reasons that there is a sect and cult in Christianity today known as positive Christianity. this was the Christianity founded by the Nazi Party and was used for the political and as well as religious agenda. Not only was it meant to oppose the Nazi propaganda, but the people, including Adolf, literally believed in some of the things that these people had proposed to. And believe it or not, Martin Luther, who was a big anti-Semite of his time, had inspired Hitler based on some of the sayings. So that's one thing that we can get into on that. But he basically goes to wipe out the Old Testament, saying that's not canonized scripture, and instead you to focus on the New Testament, which is where you have the Anointed Standard translation of the New Testament, which is the Nazi Bible, basically. And this has all kinds of sayings and phrases where it does its best to make Jesus appear Aryan and gets rid of anything where Old Testament comes back in or ties anything to Jesus being Jewish. And the next thing they go for is also obvious things that get rid of. But
how much was propaganda and how much was actually theological belief? That's the question.
Right, and I'm about to look up the passages, because there's one thing that they would always focus on, which is the idea of a national unity or separation kind of aspect. And here's some sample verses. I'm sure you're familiar with the passage that says that John the Baptist is saying that, you know, I baptize with water, but there's going to be one that baptizes with fire, right?
Right, correct. Mm-hmm.
Right, so,
that was the Holy Ghost, right?
Right, so I'm going to pull out the King James Version, which you'll find with any other translation, but here's what the basic is. I indeed have baptized you with water, but he shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost. That's Mark chapter 1, verse 8. In the Anointed Standard translation, we look at this. Quote, truly I baptize you in water, but he will baptize you in the mentality of separation.
Not familiar with that passage.
that's Mark 1:8 with the Anointed Standard translation.
Huh.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's revisionist. I mean, obviously
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of propaganda in there. I think the question really goes, went to more, did Hitler really have any kind of actual theological standards, or was it all just, Aryan promotions and propaganda?
Well, it was mainly propaganda, but he did believe in this stuff when you look at some of the things, and that's what's the even more sad part is because of that, he's gained, to this day, people that still follow this crap.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
the bigger point is that, let's say someone Skyped you and said, "Hey, Steve, could you give me some help here on evolution?" And I'm kind of wondering whether this is possible on biological evolution. And you say, you're going to have a hangout on this? Yeah, okay. Well, shout me in the hangout and I'll help you along there. And then you go into their hangout, and then they spend all the time attacking you and calling you a whatever it is, and then they boot you from their hangout. What chance do you have with someone like that?
Well, G-Man's fickle when it comes to that. I mean, if you don't subscribe to G-Man's exact ideological belief system, you're not a Christian. You're not even a theist.
Mm.
I mean, he's very, very selective when it comes to that. We all know that. I mean, he was the one the other day promoting if you're a racist, that you should be put to death, which was strange. And then in his latest video that we had watched on my channel the other day, he was saying that, again, there's no such thing as atheist, and he wanted a logical proof that there was. And I actually gave him one. I actually gave him a very simple modus ponens. I just basically said something like the effect, if you don't believe in God, you're an atheist. You don't believe in God, you're an atheist. Something along those lines. Very simple, logical proof. And I'm trying to explain to G-Man that the Romans 1:18, for one, only applied to the Church of Corinth, but second of all, it doesn't matter what it applied to. Atheism is a position on a claim. It's a position on a proposition, and to deny that is just logically absurd, because you're saying you can have the position of theist, which is the affirmation of the claim, but a negation of the claim you can't have. That's a I mean, where in logic is that allowed, Matt?
It's not. Well, it is if you say that people are lying to you, and that's
Well,
and that's where that leads to. It says, okay, I hear you saying you're an atheist, Steve, but you're lying.
That's what it is. But that's a problem there too, because we all have epistemic boundaries, right? How is it one? He's asking for proof if somebody is an atheist. We cannot, because of that epistemic boundary, get into somebody's head and know if they're telling the truth or not. Okay, if somebody tells me that they believe God does not exist, then I'm going to take that, at face value, right? I mean, that's generally how we operate when it comes to these belief systems, because we cannot physically get into somebody's brain and says, oh, well, and say, well, you really don't believe this. This is a doxastic claim. So he's saying that everybody in the world who says they're atheist are basically lying.
Yeah.
So let me see if I understand this, Steve. You're asking for logic.
Don't even try. Don't even try.
You're asking for logic from G-Man.
Well, no, I understand what you're saying. He was asking for logic from everybody else, and I'm like saying, well, he doesn't understand logic to begin with. How would he even understand if somebody gave him proof or not?
No, I'm talking about the difference between being a theist and an atheist. Well, you can't have one without the other, to be honest, logically. But do you honestly expect G-Man to have the capacity to understand something that simple?
Objectively, you could. You could have theism without atheism, vice versa.
Well,
you could have
I
society
guess.
without theism. But I guess but pragmatically speaking, yes. I mean, if one exists, the other one's coextensively going to exist with it. It's just the negation. But for him to suggest that everybody's just lying to him and say, oh well, yeah, I really actually do secretly believe there's a God. It's just I'm telling you otherwise. That means that he's basically pulling a Ron the Magic Man, and he's saying that he's able to read your thoughts, right?
Yeah. Or God can read
your true thoughts.
Well, it says in the Bible that everyone knows that there's a God, so.
And that's not what it says, though. I mean, basically, that scriptural reference of Romans 1:18 is only referring to a group of people that had apostatized from the Church of Corinth. How that ever got translated into everybody, I have no idea.
Well, that's very much disputed, whether it has universal application to every human being or whether it has only limited application to the apostates at Corinth. So that's not a settled issue even within theology, and that's why you have different views on theology on that passage.
I understand it, but I don't read it as everybody in the world, no.
But again, this is look, we're talking about that would require nuance and understanding that kind of stuff, which G-Man.
Sorry.
And by the way, the side chat there, I have to disagree with Nestlik. He says that most atheists do not hold the belief that no gods exist, and I have to disagree. I've talked to a lot of atheists, and most atheists do, in fact, if you ask them, do you hold the belief that no gods exist, they're going to say yes. So I mean, atheist Brony is an atheist. If I say atheist Brony, answer the question here to the proposition, do you believe that God exists?
No.
Okay. Do you hold the belief that no gods exist?
Yes.
Then you're an atheist.
Now, I will add the caveat that I cannot prove no gods exist.
Sure, this isn't an epistemic claim, and it's not. It's just a belief claim. So, but Nestlik just hasn't gotten this yet. That if somebody believes there is no God, then they are an atheist. And
to expand it personally, I don't really believe in anything supernatural. So,
well, you're not natural.
Gods would be included in that.
Yeah, there are people out there that do just lack a belief, but they're a minority. They're not philosophical atheists, and the vast majority of atheists I've seen are philosophical atheists.
I don't agree with you on there. I mean, I have an ongoing post where I'm listing as when I encounter a philosophical atheist who reveals himself as a philosophical atheist, I'm putting their name on this thread and what they've said, and I'm also doing the same with lack-theists as I encounter lack-theists, and the lack-theists are winning that, and I'm fairly.
How are you asking the question? How are you answering the question though? Because
I'm not asking the question. Let's say we're in discussion. If I say if I say something about atheism, and they will just respond. They will say, no, you're wrong. Atheism is simply lack of belief in God. or
Okay, I gotcha.
atheism is just belief in God, lack
Yeah,
of
and
belief in God.
there definitely might be a lot of communities where that holds to, because there is a push for that with the newer atheists because of Matt Dillahunty and Alan Roth.
Actually, more disturbing, I think we discussed the last time that this might become standard. I was reading a dictionary, the Oxford Handbook of Atheism,
Yeah, it's just both things.
and it's done by Michael Roos and someone else, and they're using the Lactheist definition of atheism in that Oxford Handbook of Atheism.
Right, but and if you go into the actual word atheism, just theism with the prefix a, not without blah blah blah. Yeah, you can make the argument for that too.
That's a horrible argument, the etymology, because, as you know, atheist was once a term to describe Christians, so you can't really go by the etymology, you go by the usage. Now, that might be true that Lactheism is fast becoming the more modern thing. That might be a truism to that. And that is because of the internet, that is because of the YouTube. But in philosophy, however, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, because that's changing, several hundred years of precedent there.
Well, I think I seen the most recent debate with William Lane Craig and some guy. I think he's an epistemologist, and it's a very interesting debate to watch. Craig lost that debate, and he lost that debate. The guy was lecturing Craig on philosophy. He actually was lecturing Craig on philosophy.
The Kevin Sharp guy?
Yeah, Kevin Sharp guy, yeah. And but he put up a confidence level. He never addressed any of Craig's arguments. Mm-hmm. When he moved up to put forward his position, he drew up this confidence chart and said, "This is how we do things in philosophy," and then he just said, "Okay." So, but he put strong atheism, and he just tabooed it. He said that's a silly position, and that's philosophical atheism as we would define it. That's too strong a position, and then we have the too strong a position for theism. We're going to dismiss both of those, and then we're going to go into these other things. So I think there's going to be a move away from philosophical atheism as we know it, and a definite move even in philosophy with the Stanford and the IEP. They are going to move to either incorporate Lactheism or they're going to make it the standard definition. I predict that for the future.
Well, a lot of people moved away from the stronger forms of atheism when logical positivism kind of fell out of favor.
That's been out of favor for a long time.
Exactly. It was a while ago. It became, even back in the early 90s, Keith Parsons wrote a book called, I think it's like Atheism or Atheism and the Burden of Proof, and he defined atheism as what you guys would call Lactheism.
Yeah, no, and I see it often. I mean, the point is, I don't know if it's ever going to take over or take a hold, philosophically speaking. I don't know. I don't know if it's the dominant one now or not. I mean, I personally don't think so, but somebody can make an argument for that. But that doesn't make it better usage. I think defining it as lack of belief is way less useful by far. It's horrible.
Isn't it? It's like there's all these arguments, though. I think it's more interesting. Like I thought that he actually did address a couple of Craig's arguments. I thought he addressed them kind of interestingly. Steve? This guy, when he argued against Craig ran the fine-tuning argument in that debate, but he didn't run intelligent design. Yeah, right, Matt? But he didn't run intelligent design. He usually doesn't. The thing is, he does affirm it, and he has had a debate on it. And this guy went up and he gave an argument. I never actually heard this argument. He said that, look, if you're going to affirm the fine-tuning argument, that entails certain concepts about biochemistry are correct. And if that's the case, you're affirming evolutionary biology. If you want to run the fine-tuning argument, then you're kind of implicitly affirming evolutionary biology, because that's one of the things that's ultimately finely tuned. So you can't go, hey, fine-tuning, and then go, hey, intelligent design. You go one or the other.
Yeah, that's not correct. No, intelligent design does not speak against biological evolution. So Stephen Mayer and the people who are proposing intelligent design, they will say, we are not denying evolution. We are not denying the fact of evolution. Not even possibly
Hamill
that.
say that.
Say again?
Ken Hamill, he accepts microevolution. It depends on what they're saying specifically. Are they fine with common ancestry, but not fine with like the tempo? It
Yeah, I mean,
depends on what they're talking about.
so what the intelligent design position is not that evolution. Well, first of all, they're only attacking the theory of evolution. They're not attacking the fact of evolution. They accept the fact of evolution.
Yeah.
Things change in an allele frequency in a population over time. It's a theory, and what they're not saying the theory is wrong. They accept a lot what's in the theory. They're saying the theory is inadequate to explain everything we find in biological organisms. Otherwise, they're not saying it's wrong. They're saying there's a better theory. Here's the better theory. That better theory is intelligent design. So
They're looking at it more,
if
they're
you
looking
take
more
that,
about the molecular
yeah, but if you take that across to the
evolution,
sharp
though,
stuff,
that way, though.
if you take that across to the sharp stuff, you can you can go with the fine-tuning of the universe argument, and it doesn't contradict you. Like Craig believes in evolution. He thinks there's problems with it, but he's not a young Earth creationist or anything like that. So
Well, that's intelligent design. Intelligent design is what he has a problem with. Is where the issue arises. I guess it also has an issue with younger creationism, of course, but it's just intelligent design. I think that Craig is being inconsistent with if he still affirms it, which I don't even know if he does, actually. I think he was just trying to goad him into saying, yeah, I don't accept intelligent design anymore.
no,
One of the main issues I have with the fine-tuning problem, the fine-tuning argument, one of many, is that even if we accept the Copernican principle, there have been recent studies that have shown that there are types of cosmological constants out there, not the cosmological constants, but constants of the universe that
Physical
may be
constants.
physical constants that differ in various parts of the universe, especially the fine structure constant. So if that is the case, if there's a deviation there, then that would affect all other constants, including light too. These are very, very small anisotropes, though.
But the fine-tuning argument only runs on the fundamental constants, and it doesn't run with the fundamental constants in isolation from each other. It only runs with the fundamental constants working with each other. So that's
they're
the
tuned just right.
fine-tuning argument.
That's true. But again, I fall back to Douglas Adams' analogy.
Don't do that.
That's
don't
a
do
brilliant
that.
analogy.
It's
I mean,
not
if you
something.
how is it a bad analogy?
What's your argument against that, actually? I remember you didn't like someone saying it before.
Yeah, well, there's a guy, let me get this guy up. He's a scientist, and he says this is a very bad argument, the puddle argument.
Why?
Well, let me tell you why. I'm making a
You're
preface to the comment before I bring
For anybody who doesn't know what the puddle argument is, Douglas Adams, who wrote the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, he postulated that a puddle from a hole in the ground is the hole in the ground finely tuned to hold that amount of water, or just the amount of water that the puddle holds is because that's how much empty space is in the puddle. So the fine-tuning argument goes simply, is the universe created for us, or are we created for the universe? In this case, with the puddle, the puddle wasn't created to hold that exact amount of water. It just does.
Yeah, I posted in the side chat.
Oh God, dude, that's like 5 pages long.
Yeah, but it's got a link at the end of it. You can go on there. But that's from David Deutsch, and so I mean, I have a thread. I have a running thread, and I started a thread on the puddle argument in my community. And this is one of the stuff that was brought up, and I posted this, as well as an excellent resource I found by a guy called Luke Barnes, who's some sort of research guy, and him and Robin Collins, they are the main proponents of intelligent design, and he takes on Victor Stenger, who wrote the Fallacy of Fine-Tuning book. And he's very critical of Stenger in regards to Stenger's knowledge of science and the mathematics, etc. And that's a very interesting resource. Luke Barnes, he has lots of stuff on there. He also attacks theists, by the way. So Hugh Ross and when Hugh Ross saying there's over 200 of these fundamental constants, he says rubbish, absolute nonsense, nothing like that.
I don't think there's 200.
Yeah.
There's probably, if you I could probably get about 20 fundamental constants off the top of my head.
Yeah, 20 is about, I think 20 is the number that Luke Barnes gives as well. So that's why I like him, because he exhibits fairness. He's not just going after atheists, attacking the fine-tuning. He's equally critical of theists who are misrepresenting the fine-tuning argument and things like that.
But like ultimately, the argument that I think just ruins the fine-tuning argument is the argument from divine indifference. I think, Steve, you were in that hangout where I talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're 2/3 or 1/3 using Bayesian.
No, it's
no.
Like
well, no, that was your good and evil God. That's right. What was your divine indifference?
Well, it's not my. It's pretty much. Look, if we take into account the old evidence that life does exist, it seems like it got. And I think I remember hearing Matt in one of your hangouts. You said God had to create the universe, right?
No, I didn't say that. Oh, he may have said that.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure that's. I don't think I would go with that any longer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the thing is like if the fact that we exist shows that a designer would have to create life, and so when you realize that we can have coarsely tuned universes where there's universes where the laws are a bit lax, it's more likely for life to come about. And then you have these finely tuned universes where it's less likely for them to come about. It actually seems to be the case that it goes against theism to say that well, things are fine tuned. That shows that there's a designer. It actually works against it.
What does it mean by coarsely tuned?
It just means like, say there's a constant. If it's like, say it's at 1. If it's at 1.5, everyone dies, or no one ever comes about. It's that finely tuned, right? But say there's a universe where it's 1, but at like 17, then things get into trouble. It's where ranges are a lot more lax.
I get that, okay, but I mean, in terms of what kind of life, I mean, aren't we making the assumption that it's going to be a DNA-based life form like we are?
No, the fine-tuning argument runs against all forms of life.
Well, that's what I thought as well. Be all forms of life. I mean, how do we know what the constraints are? How do we know what the variability is, and how do we definitely know what the upper and lower bounds are for any kind of coarse constant if we don't even know whether types of life can exist? We have no way to even determine that.
No, because you know what the requirements are for life to exist.
No, we don't.
Well, could life exist? Could life exist without the universe?
Okay, well, we know some of the conditions.
Okay, so can life form without the heavy elements?
We don't know.
Yeah, you do, because without the heavy elements, you can't get planets and galaxies and suns and stars.
You can't make that. You can't make that determination. There could be different. But life as we know it.
It's not us. It's not theists who are saying that. It's science.
That's life as we know it. That is life based upon DNA-based life. We have no idea if life can exist, just with lighter elements.
Okay. So where would life form? Where would it form if there's no planets?
In interstellar medium.
Where would it form if there's no interstellar medium?
Well, again, we have to assume that the universe exists for all kinds of life, but we don't know what conditions can exist if life can exist in very hostile environments, such as the nebulosity of around stars. Maybe life in the very small types of life forms could exist. We don't know. I doubt it, but it is possible.
Remember electrons in love argument I gave you? I told you about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if Matt, like some people feel it's the case that the real miraculous part about fine-tuning, or what fine-tuning tells us, is that our minds arose through all these fine-tuned like concepts and stuff. And so it's our minds, our ability to react with concepts of God, react with each other, develop like culture and all that stuff. That's the real miraculous thing that arises from fine-tuning. But most people who argue for fine-tuning are they also affirm dualism, some sort of dualism. After all, God is non-physical. He's a non-physical mind. So if it's the case that if we assume that dualism is true, then God could have just made a universe with just hydrogen, with the element of hydrogen, and just have the electron and the proton like hanging out, and given them minds because dualism is true. And then in that way, you only need, I don't know, it's a weak or strong gravitational force, right?
No, a nuclear force.
Yeah, a nuclear force, yeah. You only need one of the constants. It seems like pointing out how finely tuned they are is, if anything, you're going to end up arguing for like physicalism or something. You're saying no, it has to be all these different constants fine-tuned. Our brains have to be so complex. Only a complex brain could support the kind of minds we have. You'll end up arguing for physicalism accidentally.
The two problems with that. The first one is that the fine-tuning argument doesn't get you to God. It gets you at the designer of the universe. And you need other arguments to identify that intelligence as being more probably the God than anything else. And the second one is you can propose God and not be a substance dualist. Substance dualism is not pivotable to the fine-tuning argument. In fact, it's not even involved in the fine-tuning argument.
Ronnie doesn't posit that. Yeah, Ronnie accepts intelligence design. He doesn't accept dualism, I don't think, because he says many times the mind needs a substrate. So
yeah, it's not an argument against that, but there are people who do affirm. I think William Dembski has gone on record as affirming that the intelligent designer, in terms of intelligent design, is non-physical. So some form of dualism, whatever. If we posit, I mean, is the designer, the fine-tuner, did he only arise when the universe arose, so he could always be material, or is she also the one who started the universe and then fine-tuned stuff?
The mistake you're making there is you're trying to explain the explanation. The fine-tuning argument is an abductive argument, the best explanation for the fine-tuning of the fundamental constants. So if you get to the conclusion, the best explanation for the fine-tuning of the fundamental constants is a designer, you don't then need to explain the designer.
Well, see, I think it's asserted to be that.
It's not. I mean, no. You missed the point of what I was saying. Earlier you said, well, it doesn't lead to God and it doesn't affirm dualism. I'm just telling you the people who would have problems with this argument. The people who would affirm that the designer is non-physical, and so they would have to affirm dualism. I'm not trying to explain from the explanation. I'm just telling you those people will have trouble with this argument, electrons and love.
On theology, or on theological grounds, or on philosophical argumentative grounds? So what's their argument that
I gave it.
No, what's their argument that the designer would have to be non-physical?
I mean, if you're the person who thinks that the fine-tuner is also one who created the universe, if you're a person who... So, what do you mean it doesn't follow? You don't think the fine-tuner created the universe? Because there are some of the constants have been around since the beginning of the universe. Some of the things are dependent on our universe having a beginning.
Do you know what an architect is?
Yeah, you can have a mess of a universe. You can have a chaotic universe, and then a fine tuner comes along and gives it order. In fact, that's what kind of Genesis 1 says.
Yeah, well, that's not what the argument is.
You can have a designer who doesn't do the creating.
But that's not what the argument is against that. If you affirm that, Matt, that's interesting. I would like to hear more of that. No, the argument is against people who do affirm the things that I said. That's it.
But I think what I'm pointing out is they need to have arguments to get to intelligent designer or designer God. or creator.
Well, first of all, I would have to say that fine-tuning argument is not a good abductive argument. I'm sorry, it just really isn't. I would disagree
Really?
fully on that one. And yeah, it's horrible, absolutely
Actually,
horrible.
most atheists I've spoken to, philosophical atheists, they're on record as saying that the teleological argument, the best that theism has got going for it. Now, maybe
The,
that means
the teleological or the teleonomic?
teleological argument, like the fine-tuning. Now, maybe
Nah.
now maybe it's the case that when they say that, they mean all the arguments are bad, and the fine-tuning is the
Possibly.
best. The bad
I
bunch.
don't find the
So-
fine-tuning argument to be persuasive in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I
that-
mean,
yeah,
I gave two things that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the worst. I'd
Yeah.
rather
I don't
stick with the
think-
cosmological, the Kalam.
I mean,
I would
if you
actually
guys-
think transcendental arguments are actually.
If you
Yeah,
guys
that's
are
right.
anything like me, then I mean, well, my view is that I don't push the fine-tuning argument because I don't understand enough of the science behind it to be able to do that. And you need to know the science and the fundamental constants, etc. And you need to know how it's presented and what it's arguing for and how it's arguing for its conclusion. And it's only when I'm aware of Robin Collins because he was part of that Greer Foundation discussion with William Lane Craig and Sean Carroll. But when he gave his talk there, he was very, very nervous, and that totally detracted from the content. And it shouldn't have, but it did. But then he has a web page, and then 2 days ago I came across this Luke Barnes guy, and I think the best presentation and the best responses to critiques of fine-tuning arguments from this guy Luke Barnes, probably more so than even Robin Collins.
I have a question for Matt. Matt, is the in the ID argument, is the designer like a minimalist kind of designer? See, that's to me like the contradiction, like where you say it's fine-tuned, but then there obviously are things like, let's take, so astrologists say that we don't get meteor impacts on Earth because of Jupiter, right, in our solar system. But if things are really fine-tuned, why would there be meteors? That type of thing. Like you can always kind of poke holes. So is this like a minimalist?
The argument isn't that everything in the universe is fine-tuned. The argument is that the fundamental constants together, in isolation and working together, are finely tuned for life and discoverability of the universe. That's the argument.
But don't you see that kind of dichotomy where, like, yes, Jupiter's there to kind of basically serves as like a shield for Earth, right? But then if it's tuned, why are there these objects in space that can damage the Earth? That's kind of like the contradiction I always see.
Jupiter isn't part of the fine-tuning argument.
But you're saying that they're constants in the universe, right?
Yeah.
Like for life to exist on Earth, right?
Yeah.
So
No, for life to exist. No. It's not life to exist on the Earth. It's for life to exist.
Okay, so it's not bound to just our existence. Okay.
No.
I wouldn't. I mean, granted, without Jupiter, you're right, but I mean, the argument is actually for life to exist in the universe.
For the universe.
No. Any kind of life.
Yeah. But it's not just the fundamental constants. It's actually there's actually natural units. Ever heard of that natural unit, Matt?
Well, the argument doesn't go from natural units.
Well, it should though. But I think it would be a stronger thing. I mean, some of the fundamental things are natural units. C is a fundamental constant. It is actually a natural unit. So is H bar. So is the gravitational constant. Planck's time, Planck's length, Planck's mass, any of those are natural units. They're going to exist independently whether we exist or not. They're basically not man-made created measurements. They're going to be fundamental to anywhere in the universe, given to any civilization. I think that would be. What's that?
Aren't they all, by definition, a fundamental constant of the universe is something that exists independent of us?
No, because not all. I mean, think of a foot, being 12 inches. That's man-made. Meters, man-made.
Yeah,
these are all
But those aren't
man-made ideas, but they're not universal.
But those aren't things that are claimed to be finely tuned. The fundamental constants, my thinking of it, the fundamental constants, that's what's claimed to be finely tuned for life, and they're all objective. They all exist regardless of us. If the universe exists, the fundamental constants exist, regardless of whether we know about them and we don't know about them. That's what makes them fundamental.
They apply equally across the board, but they're not all of them are natural units, though.
Well, if by natural units you mean exist without, they're not man-made, then I would say they are.
What do you mean, like natural numbers?
No. Natural units are not just man-made. Natural units actually can be created by simple quantitative analysis and a little bit of matrix theory. Okay, so you can take like 5 fundamental natural units, and you can find anyone else, any of the other ones, just by using a little qualitative analysis. That's going to be, like I said, that's going to apply equally. Like, for example, Planck's length, the smallest unit of measurement in the known universe, that applies everywhere, right? That is a fundamental constant, okay? But it's also a unit of measurement at the same time, right?
But all the fundamental constants are objective. They exist independent of us and their opinions about them, but some of them are natural units as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What does that do to the argument, though, Steve?
Nothing.
Well, because if you have these natural units that exist throughout the universe, then any life anywhere in the universe is going to be able to determine these natural units, right? They could determine what the smallest granular size is of the universe, the Planck length. But by doing that, then for life to exist in that universe, then the finely tunedness of it, I guess you could say the fine tuna, would have to be across the board universally, and so life existed 13.7 billion light years away. They would be saying the same thing, be like, look at these natural units are to us to say they would be somewhere else 13.7 billion light years away. I think that's a little bit stronger argument, because if any of those natural units had differed across the range of space, life, I don't think, could exist as we know it.
I mean, that's a stronger fine-tuned argument? Is that what you're...
I don't know. I'll have to work on it, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I had an interesting chat with an atheist called Solomon Grundy. I don't know if any of you know him. And he was putting forward the fine-tuning argument was the best case for that if he was going to be persuaded to be a theist, it would be the fine-tuning that would do it for him. And then I pointed out to him the fine-tuning argument. I said, the fine-tuning argument doesn't get you to God. And he said, okay, thanks very much. You've just reinforced my atheism.
I mean, it doesn't even, if some people want to like reduce it to that the fine-tuner is actually material, and he just like did what.
Why couldn't you make it into a teleonomic argument just as easy, though? I mean, let's say the universe is fine-tuned.
Okay,
what?
So I have a question.
Well, Joe, I was going to say, hang on. If the universe, let's say the universe is fine-tuned, in that regard, why can't we just say that there's a teleonomic fine-tuner? We can't call it nature, because nature doesn't exist prior to t equals 0. But maybe there's I mean, you can't. There's no nature prior to t0. You don't have anything prior to t0.
Why can't we appeal to a designer that isn't God?
Just a naturalistic designer that isn't, in this case, nature, because obviously we are designed, right? I mean, the human body is.
There's the simulation argument. There's also, people have said, what about aliens? I'm sorry?
Well, I don't know if
aliens would be a life form, and if the fine-tuning argument saying that the fundamental constants weren't as they were, no life could exist, then that would include aliens.
And the simulation argument runs into another problem, though.
Well, then the arguments you were giving earlier, they're susceptible to the same objection.
What objection?
Well, you said the aliens are a living life form. Earlier you said, well, there could be a fine-tuner that already existed in time, didn't have to create the universe. We could just say, well, what fine-tuned that? What created that life form, right?
But that's trying to explain the explanation again.
Well,
you're running the same problem with simulation, though, Joe.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry. No, well, I haven't. No, I gave two different things. Simulation is different. Simulation is just
There
kind of
still has to be someone running a simulation,
sure, but you're trying to explain the explanation.
right?
Why would you need to?
Yeah, so the simulation
Yeah.
argument works. It can
the
account for the
context-
fine tuning,
Well, 'cause I
and
think
it's not it's
Sure.
ontologically economical too.
Sure, it works to explain things. Yes, I will say that. But eventually you still have pushed it back, and you still have an infinite regress issue.
Yeah, but we don't have to explain the explanation, so it doesn't
I
matter.
know.
That's
Well,
what I'm
I
trying to
think
tell you.
you guys say I think somewhere along the lines you do have to address that. I mean,
No one's saying you don't address it. It's just that look, if they're gonna say we don't have to worry about who or what the designer is, then we can posit something
yes.
to mirror that argument and say, well, we don't have to worry about who the simulators are.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
problem is, though, that's ignoring the context in which the fine-tuning argument's normally presented, which is a cumulative argument. So
Well,
fine-tuning
not
just
by
gets you
itself.
No, well, obviously not. It couldn't be a cumulative argument if it was
Well,
by itself.
Yeah, the simulation argument isn't an argument against the moral argument or
No,
against.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying the context in which the fine-tuning argument is presented is part of a cumulative argument. And if you ignore that context, then you could, if you take it standalone, then you could present the simulator stuff there. But if you take it in the context of the cumulative argument, so the best or the originator of the universe, the creator of the universe with the column, is a timeless, spaceless, immaterial, very powerful being, and that's what we normally call God. And that gets you a creator of the universe. Then you have a designer. You're not identifying the designer as being God. You've got a creator, you've got a designer, you've got a moral lawgiver, you've got the being. So that's the context of the fine-tuning argument.
Yeah, but that's like saying if you defeat one of the go ahead, heretic. I saw. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you carry on. You carry on, guys. You're in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah, that's like saying if you defeat one of the atheist arguments, I could just say, well, I'm giving a cumulative case for atheism. You haven't defeated it in the context of the cumulative. I can't say that word right now.
The standalone.
That's our argument. That's all there.
The thing about it is the fine-tuning argument by itself is defeated by all these other arguments. We could talk about what an apologist presents in the debate with other arguments mixed up. Like I said, the simulation argument doesn't defeat the moral arguments that are given. But
I think you're missing the point. The point is that if someone presents the fine-tuning argument, okay, and let's say the fine-tuning argument goes through, okay, successfully goes through, all you get to, wait a minute, all you get to is a designer of the universe. You don't get to God from that. So because you don't get to God from that, even though you've successfully got to a fine-tuner, then you could legitimately raise the simulation argument. That wouldn't negate the fine-tuning argument. It would only negate the explanation for the fine-tuning. But
it blocks you from using the fine-tuning argument in your cumulative case.
Yeah. Why would it?
I see what Matt's saying, but Matt, I still think it's a little disingenuous. At some point, when somebody says, "Well," its fine-tuning argument is an abductive argument that gets us to a more reasonable hypothesis that there is some kind of designer or some being with the intent of creating a universe that's finely tuned for life.
No,
that's what most people. That's what it implies. A fine-tuning argument is that.
Does. I think people are reading that into the.
I'm offering alternative hypotheses that are more persuasive than the fine-tuning argument, so it doesn't matter whatever he said. He just explained what a fine-tuning.
I agree with you. You can offer an alternative hypothesis, and on a standalone basis, that alternative hypothesis needs to be compared only with the fine-tuning argument.
That's what he's doing.
And one of those will win out, and I think it will be the fine-tuning argument.
Simulation.
I mean, I've offered 3 arguments, and
but Joe, wouldn't the simulation argument just be a subset of fine-tuning? I mean, that's.
That's
I
what it
mean,
sounds like to me.
but I mean, I agree with you essentially. The thing is that the simulation argument, I agree with you only because I haven't. It's a brand new paper that's out. The issue with it is that they do try and I think they do try to undercut that objection. But Matt already offered me an out earlier. He said, "Hey, we don't have to. You're
Right.
trying to explain the explanation."
No, but to me, it's more efficient than the kind of this ethereal kind of creator. It's more efficient and simplistic. I think it's. I'm not arguing. Yeah, I'm not arguing against it. Yeah,
I mean,
it's not for a creator; it's for a designer.
yeah, but whatever. We've been interchanging these like creator, God,
You
designer.
can't do that.
Maybe
I'm
Matt.
trying to say, you can't do that legitimately.
Okay.
You can't do that
Okay.
legitimately
Can I say
with the
something?
fine-tuning argument.
Someone with a really bad. What's up, Odin?
Hey.
Oh, Buzz. Interesting. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I wanted to I have two questions, right? Does the designer have to be material in order to do the designing or fine tuning?
No.
Okay. So the other question is, and I asked it in the side chat. Do you need to know what something is designed for in order to determine that it's designed?
No.
I think so.
Okay.
I think in the first case, the first question I would answer depends on who you ask. And the second question, and the second question is no. I don't think you have to know what it's designed for to know if something's designed.
But going
we
back
can look at something, we have no idea what the hell it does or what the hell it is, but we know enough about engineering to say, okay, this was designed by something. We don't know what the purpose is, however.
But that's human designed, isn't it? That's human
well,
design.
we can apply it. We can apply it across the board, though. I mean,
We could apply it across the board to this designer. Are you kidding me?
Well, no. Hang on. Let me phrase that, Joe. If we could determine that was designed, we could apply it across the board. I don't think we can. I don't think we can.
That's begging the question, though.
Here's a good example. Let's say scientists tomorrow discover a brand new planet, or they land on a planet that's never been explored before by humans, and they get on that planet. And when they're on that planet, they discover this. They discover this structure. It's a completely unknown structure in regards to its purpose, its intention, its functionality. But it's obvious that it's not that it's artificial. It's not organic. It's very complex. A very complex structure. We would not in science, I think, would naturally say this has been designed. This has been, someone's made this, and it's been designed and it's been created. But we wouldn't know the first thing about what its purpose was for design, who designed it. We would know nothing apart from we have a very complicated structure that's inorganic, and we would inductively say, okay, this is a design created thing.
No,
yeah,
we can't. No, we can't. Why is it that complexity is the signifier of design? Why is it simplicity a sign? Exactly. So you're saying one of the features of this thing is that it's complex, and that's something that would lead us to think that it's designed. No, we don't know anything about the goals of the designer or the fine tuner. So how can we? I mean, how do we know that they only like designing? Okay.
Yeah, I'll give an example. What you did there was you took a phrase I said, a complex structure, and you separated
You said
the two
complex
things.
several times.
Yeah,
I think
always in relation
that's
to
one
the word
criteria.
structure.
I can understand both of you if you talk at the same time. Go ahead.
That's one criteria, complexity. I don't think it has to be it's not, if it's complex then this, but I think complexity does lend into something that is more considered to be an artificial construct in some cases, if we're talking about inorganic things, but not always. I mean, we can have a lot of complexity in a rock. Well, hang on, we can have a inorganic rock formation that's highly complex that we know isn't.
Looks like
well, yeah, but that's still design, though. I mean, those things are still designed if we look at it teleonomically, right? So, but we're talking about in a teleological sense, and that, again, we'd have to analyze things as a whole, Joe. We can't just look at something and say, okay, this is complex and therefore it's this or that. We have no idea. We have to take everything into account. If we see something along the lines that we at least recognize as something that has a function of some type that does something, we see it having movement that does something. Using using like pulley systems or something that we have seen mechanical wise, and it's highly complicated. I think we can make a good abductive reasoning that it is, or I should say inductive reasoning that it's designed. But,
what is a snowflake designed for?
We don't know.
To look pretty.
We don't need to know.
Well, then half of the justification for saying that teleonomy can explain these things is just like
out the window. Yeah.
Well, no, you can say that a snowflake is designed to have a crystal structure formation based upon the angle of bond of a hydrogen and oxygen molecule.
I could say they're designed to look pretty.
Well, I was kidding. But I'm just saying
they're designed to look pretty. Which, I mean, what's the Go on.
I was kidding, Joe. I'm saying we can say.
But doesn't the argument from an analogy?
It has to follow the bond angle of water, right? We know that water has a bond angle of what, 109 point something, 104.5,
whatever. 69 degrees.
69. Everything is 69. So it's designed to follow that specific bond angle of the hydrogen and oxygen atoms in the water molecule. I mean, we could have it with any kind of reason for design, but we do got to wrap this up because the debate's starting at 4 o'clock. So we're going to bring this back home to Christian Anarchist and G-Man. Place your bets now. I'm going to go through the line, and then I'm going to close this hangout out so we can all get ready to watch that. I've got 33 viewers, so hey, all you guys go watch it. I think is it on? Whose channel is it on? Anybody know?
Where's the Floyd? You posted? Okay, Floyd posted the link. I think.
Why would anyone waste their time watching that debate?
Because we're giving support. We're giving support to Christian Anarchist because we like him.
He doesn't need support. He's won it before it started.
Well, we granted that G-Man's starting at a severe disadvantage here. Floyd? What page is that on? I'm just curious.
It's on the debate.
Yeah, but I mean, who's? I know I see the link, but I didn't want to click it yet. Whose channel is it on? I was just curious.
It's Christians.
Christians.
Okay.
Yeah, Christians.
Okay. So, anyways, I'm gonna go through the line here. Tell me what you think is gonna win. I already know Matt. Matt's already wagered on CA. So, Doctor, who do you think's gonna win? He's not here. Josh.
I think that Christian Anarchist is gonna. Well, I don't know what winning is with G-Man, so I guess I'll just say Christian Anarchist.
Yeah, I don't know what winning it was with G-Man either. You got to get to my hangouts more on time. I miss talking to you, dude. You always seem to come in like right before my hangouts start ending. I don't know why. It's like the third time. You know.
Issues. So.
Yeah, but I want you to drop in earlier one time because I want to have more of a discussion with you. I really liked our talks, especially because there's been so much going on with Darwin's on Darwin's channel that I really want to talk to you about when we get a chance. Okay. He's been awfully quiet lately. What the hell happened?
He got bullied off it. He got bullied out of Google Plus.
I would hope so.
Gone for a bit.
Odeon, what about you?
I don't believe I've ever heard G-Man debate anyone before, so I don't think it will be fair to me to place a bet. It would be kind of stupid, to be honest.
So you're gonna go even. You're gonna go even money. 50-50? Okay. Joe.
Christian Anarchist, if he actually gets close to his mic so you can hear him.
Well, he's gonna be on a computer. He's not gonna be on his phone. Jim.
Christian Anarchist, and I got 20 on it.
Okay. By the way, I'm not taking real money here. I just FYI. I'm just saying.
Did you find someone stupid enough to give you a bet against G-Man?
Well, then I might take it. I mean, I might have to seriously consider it. But I don't know. Heretic.
I think the stopwatch is going to win. Because they won't get to an answer. They won't get to an answer.
We all lose.
G-Man. Yeah.
Well, I think it's more who's going to have a better argument of sorts, you know?
Yeah. Who do you think made the best arguments?
Well, I mean, in terms of, I have no idea. I really don't know. I don't know enough about either of the people.
Okay, how about Hernando?
I've never seen G-Man be coherent outside of when he talks to the black Hebrew Israelites. So
he's done a pretty good job on that, actually.
Yeah, I mean that's the only subject he seems to do that.
He's actually done a decent job. Those are actually interesting. I have no idea what the hell they were talking about, but it was interesting. And last but not least, Floyd.
I'm actually on G-Man's side for this debate.
Get the
Really?
fuck out. How much was that?
But I have no confidence in his debating abilities, though. So I guess I'm in G-Man's corner, but you know, his debating skills, I don't have much.
Now, are you looking at it from a
much
biblical
faith
point of
in-
view? So okay? So you're saying that G-Man is correct biblically that according to the Bible, if you're Christian, you can't accept evolution.
Right. As a theological approach, I'm on G-Man's side.
Wow. Well,
I
one out of
am
10.
too, by the way. I am too, by the way.
Really?
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, I'm definitely not either. I don't read that in the Bible in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how you
I think if you're sola scriptura and you hold to Protestant Reformed theology, I think G-Man's right.
He is. He is sola scriptura. Him and Vecco both sola scriptura. They both are.
Neither of those commit you to young Earth creationism.
Well, definitely not. But that's not the argument. I think the argument is exactly what Floyd said. If you're sola scriptura, does that prevent you or preclude you from accepting evolutionary biology?
No,
I think you're saying that.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant if evolution or old Earth creationism is true. It's irrelevant. It's what
Sure,
what does the Bible teach is the question.
But Floyd, are you arguing that from the position that since you do accept evolution, you do know evolution exists, and you know it is a true thing that occurs? Are you using that to say that that in and of itself disproves Christianity?
I mean, it depends what Christian you are. I mean, if you don't hold the sola scriptura, if you're more liberal Christian, then no. But
you're misrepresenting sola scriptura. That means scripture alone. It does not mean scripture alone on a fundamentalist interpretation of scripture. I'm sola scriptura, and I hold to the scriptures only as the rule of faith for Christian faith and practice. But there's nothing in that conflicts with my theistic evolution.
I don't think so either.
Well, no, I think believing evolution is contradicts Pauline theology.
It doesn't.
Oh, it clearly does.
It clearly does. So Matt
says that death came in the world because of the sin of man. Man created death.
Yeah, correct.
Now, evolution
spiritual death. Spiritual death.
I take it as spiritual death as well.
Well, Matt, how do you have if Jesus' genealogy includes Adam, there has to be a literal Adam. If evolution is true, there is no literal Adam.
Yeah.
That's a contradiction.
Paul teaches death and suffering came into the world because of man's actions. Evolution says otherwise.
Where does evolution
say
otherwise?
If you hold a Pauline theology, you cannot believe in evolution.
Where does evolution say otherwise?
And I think to be a true Christian, you have to throw out evolution. Which makes Christianity false. So you don't basically have to dump Christianity altogether.
It makes fundamentalist Christianity false, and that's the only Christianity that Floyd is nuanced enough to. You have to reject the Adam and Eve story. You have to reject Pauline theology. No, you don't. I accept.
You're a cafeteria Christian at that point. If you're a Christian and you believe in evolution, you're a cafeteria Christian.
Again, I was converted from young Earth creationism to theistic evolution by a theistic evolutionist who was a geologist who held to a literal Adam and Eve on the science.
All right, we're going to have to pick this up later. Hey, Floyd and Matt, do you guys want maybe tomorrow or in the next couple of days, we'll pick this up. This is a good conversation. I think it would be really interesting. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Floyd's still recovering from our debate the last time on prophecies.
No, we'll continue this again. So
there's a title for your next video, for your next hangout.
What?
Come on.
Floyd versus Matt? I'll be a little more creative. I'll think of something. I see what both of them are saying, and I got to admit, I'd have to agree with Floyd a little bit from a fundamentalist point of view, but I think that's a minority position. I don't think that the fundamentalist point of view is going to be the majority of Christian, and then we're just going down and splitting the hairs of what makes an actual Christian. Right?
I agree with Floyd 100% on fundamentalists.
Sure. No, I mean that's
not a little bit. 100%.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, that's obviously true, but I mean, I don't think that fundamentalist Christians are the majority. When you say Christianity, are you referring to fundamentalist Christians or just anybody that accepts the divinity of Christ? I mean, so. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I would love to continue this, but we do have to. Yeah, we do have to watch the game. It's on Young Christian Anarchist channel. I'm posting the link in the live feed now. I got 30 people, so all you guys should be watching Christian Anarchist, and then the after show is going to be on Vincent's channel. So, hey, hope it's lively and entertaining. So, good luck both of them.